It's almost morning in Pompeii. We all know that feeling. The alarm goes off, it's dark outside, and the idea of facing the day feels, well, monumental. We hit snooze, but what if your alarm clock was the sun? And what if hitting snooze wasn't an option because the entire machinery of your society was already grinding into gear? Today, let's talk about time, but let's get specific. Let's spend a day in one of the Roman Empire's most bustling towns, Pompeii. We'll follow a citizen, let's call him Lucius, and see what his daily schedule actually looked like. The answer reveals a world fundamentally shaped not by the clock, but by the sun, the streets of his city, and the shadow of the great mountain, Vesuvius. For Lucius, the day begins long before dawn in his domus, his Pompeian house. We're talking 4 or 5 a.m. The first sounds would be the quiet movements of slaves lighting oil lamps in the grand atrium. Lucius would rise and get dressed. On most days, that meant a simple woolen tunic, easy to slip on and practical for moving through the busy streets of Pompeii. If he had formal business at the Forum, however, he might wear the toga, a heavy and cumbersome garment that often required help to drape correctly. Then came a quick breakfast, or ientaculum. And when I say quick, I mean it. This wasn't a social meal, it was often just a piece of bread, maybe dipped in wine or olive oil, and some water. A functional fuel up, nothing more, because the most important part of his day was about to begin. And this is where the Roman day differs so much from our own. Before Lucius even steps onto the basalt paving stones of the street, the world comes to him. This is the salutatio, the morning greeting, and it takes place right here in his home. Imagine Lucius as a man of some importance, a patron. His clients, men of a lower social standing, are already gathering in his atrium, standing around the central basin, the impluvium. They're here to pay their respects, to see and be seen, and to receive their daily instructions or a small handout. This isn't just a friendly chat, it's a reinforcement of the entire social hierarchy, and it happens every single morning. With the salutatio done, Lucius is off to the heart of the city, the Forum of Pompeii. He walks down the Via dell'Abbondanza, nodding to merchants opening their tabernae for the day. In the Forum, the real work gets done. Legal cases are heard in the massive basilica, while business deals are struck near the statues of emperors. He might stop at the Macellum, the city's main food market, to check on prices. All of this happens under the watchful gaze of the Temple of Jupiter, with Vesuvius looming quietly in the background. This intense period of activity would last for about 6 hours after sunrise. Around the 6th hour, midday, it was time for prandium, or lunch. Often, it was cold leftovers, some cheese, fruit, maybe bread, perhaps bought from a thermopolium, one of the many fast food counters scattered across Pompeii. The main part of the Roman workday was now over. So, what do you do with your afternoon? You head to one of the most iconic Pompeian institutions, the baths. Lucius likely heads to the Stabian Baths, the oldest and largest in the city. Here, he'll exercise in the open-air courtyard, the palaestra, before moving through the sequence of heated rooms, from the warm tepidarium to the hot, steamy caldarium, and finishing with a bracing plunge in the frigidarium. The baths were the gym, the spa, and the social club all rolled into one. As the afternoon wore on, around the 9th or 10th hour, Lucius would start heading home to prepare for the main event, the most important meal of the day, the cena, or what we'd call dinner. This was the social and culinary highlight. He'd host his guests in his triclinium, the formal dining room, reclining on couches as they were served. From here, he might have a beautiful view of his walled garden, his peristyle. Unlike the other meals, the cena could be a long, elaborate affair with multiple courses, wine, and conversation that could last for hours. And after the cena, the day was pretty much done. Pompeii, like all ancient cities, was dark and dangerous, with only flickering oil lamps to light the way. So, as darkness fell, the city quieted down. Bedtime naturally followed, not long after sunset. We actually have a great perspective on this from Pliny the Younger, who witnessed the eruption that buried this very town. In one of his letters, writing about his own routine, he shows this disciplined Roman mindset.
I go to bed, not so much because I am tired, as because I have nothing else to do. When I am in my study, it is my body only that is at the villa. My mind is abroad. But then what a pleasure it is, when my papers are put by, to go to bed and sleep off the fatigues of study.
Pliny wasn't a Pompeian, but his letters give us a vivid glimpse into Roman habits of time and daily rhythm, habits that would have been familiar in Pompeii as well. But not everyone found this rigid schedule so appealing. For a different, and frankly more relatable perspective, we can turn to the poet Martial. He had a patron, a powerful man he had to visit for that all-important salutatio. In one of his epigrams, he complains hilariously about being summoned too early.
"To be your client, sir, I'm asked at dawn, while yet the stars are twinkling in the sky. Must I then rise and shake off sleep, and run to your hard threshold with my toga on? All this trouble, only to be pushed aside by others and sent away with barely enough to buy a loaf of bread."
Martial turns his frustration into sharp humor, and it's easy to picture the scene. In Pompeii, before sunrise, clients like Lucius's hurried along the narrow streets, sandals clacking on the basalt paving stones. Shop shutters were still closed, shadows stretched from the tall houses, and the air was crisp. Some rubbed their eyes, draped in cloaks or togas, muttering under their breath as they made their way to the atrium of their patron, ready to perform the ritual of salutatio. So, when we piece it all together, the Pompeian day was incredibly front-loaded. It was a sprint of social and professional duties from dawn till midday, followed by an afternoon of leisure and socializing, and culminating in the communal meal of cena. Then, the city would fall into the quiet and darkness of night. As the sun dipped behind Vesuvius, Pompeii grew quiet. The streets emptied, the tabernae closed, and oil lamps flickered in atria and peristyles. The city's rhythm, work, social obligations, leisure, and family slowed to match the fading light. For Lucius and his fellow citizens, the rising and setting sun was the pulse of daily life, shaping every step, every greeting, every meal, and every conversation in a city where public life and private ritual were inseparable. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more history videos every week.